Okay, so for tonight's agenda, we have the TA position. So the select board received an email that our first candidate that we chose, Shelley Parita, has declined the position as the town administrator. She is going to stay with her current role. So that leads the select board back to this discussion of our other two candidates. So I know I myself had Michael Durham as a finalist as well. So I would like the select board to discuss him as our next TA because I think he has the business administrative background. He's got the budgetary background. And many years of experience. I know he said he has some experience with procurement needs, but he would need to get certified for that. And one thing that stood out during his interview as well is that he said he was a people person. So I think he would fit well in the town. So I'm opening it up to you two. See what your thoughts are.
Well, he also was one of my choices. And I do agree with his background and his resume. I know that he lacks a little bit in the municipal end, but I think that's something that can be learned through programs and schooling on his end. And he also has the interest in town, as I had said at the previous meeting, being a resident, kids in the school system, and being local. Hopefully it'll work better for the town, for him, and for the townspeople, which is what we're about to do here.
I know, I look at the two candidates and it was up front last time. I didn't have Mike at second. And the other gentleman, Mike, can't remember how to pronounce his last name. Slavic. Just because his experience. You look at his over 15 years experience as a town administrator. He's currently a town administrator. It's hard not to look at that and that experience, that knowledge. He's doing the job now. He's done the job in the past. He's worked for towns that are very similar to Granby, size-wise. It's just, like I said, not taking anything away from Mr. Durham. I just look at the difference in experience. To me, it's different when you compare the two for what the position that we're looking for right now. I know in the near future we'll be looking for an assistant town administrator. And I think it's important for myself right now to put someone in a position where they can hit the ground running. They know it. It's not a job they have to learn. This time, I looked before we had Shelley. Shelley had the experience as far as coming from working with different municipalities in that piece. She understood the budgets and working with different towns as far as budgets. So I was comfortable with that. So to me, if I look at the resume for both individuals and their knowledge and experience, it's just not the same for me.
One other thing that I consider is obviously duration. Now, we know that, like Slavic mentioned, that he might only be interested in 2 contracts, which would be about 6 years, and then he'd probably be retiring. I would hope, there are no guarantees, obviously, as we discussed, but I would hope if Mike were to get the position, that he would be here a lot longer than 6 years. And maybe as long as to his retirement, which could be a great benefit to the town.
And again, I understand that. But I'm looking at right now what the town needs right now as far as knowledge and experience in that position. You know, we had a assistant town administrator that was going to be here for the next several years. That would be okay, probably. I don't know if I'd be okay with it still, but it would give me a little more, uh, a little more consideration on that piece, knowing that someone that's been with the town that's there now. But that's not the case. And I'm truly concerned about putting someone in there that doesn't have the knowledge and experience from the get-go. So, I mean, to me, that's something to look at. You know, I know Kathy in our last, meeting is noting that she will be retiring. I don't want people that feel like they have to stay on here because we're trying to find a town administrator, or we're trying to find someone that can have the knowledge and experience to move forward. So again, I respect both your thoughts, both your opinions. Just at this time, I don't agree with it. Just who we're talking about. And I said, for me, it's based on really knowledge and experience. When I compare the two, but so that's just where I am. I look at Mr. Durham. You know, we're gonna have a posting for, I'm sure, in the near future for assistant town administrator. And I'm saying that, you know, he would be interested or put in for something like that. But I'd like to have someone that can come in at that point in time for that type of position, where we know down the road, if we do have someone that's gonna be looking to leave after 6 years, they can work with that individual and get that individual prepared for the next step. But that's just where I see it right now. I have concerns about it. I struggle with it. It is, you know, I want to make sure that for myself is putting the most qualified person in the position right now.
I do understand, Glenn, where you're coming with the most qualified. I just don't think from the interview that Mr. Slozin is what's best for the town, from my personal opinion. So I would like to take a chance on Mr. Durham, and I would like to see where it goes from there. And I understand the reservations with change is hard. It's stressful for all involved, but doesn't mean it's always bad.
Switch.
It's up to you. Do you have anything else you want to add to
I
the
have
discussion?
nothing else.
So is there a motion? Either one.
I will make a motion that we offer the position of town administrator to Michael Durham.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion?
Discussion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstain? All right. So Kathy, you will reach out to Mr. Durham and let him know. Thank you. So I know we have on the agenda the TA position, so I did want to just ask the board for some guidance. Kathy and I had discussed, as you were saying, Glenn, with the changeover, and with her retiring shortly. We had originally reached out to Pioneer Valley Planning Commission when Chris was retiring to see if we could possibly get an interim or a mentor from them. So Kathy and I were discussing that, and with the board's approval, I would like to, I talked to Eric, is it Weiss? I think it's Weiss, is how you pronounce it. Who we talked with when Chris was retiring. And we had you and Chris met with him, you went over his contract for an interim, and then Chris stepped up and became our interim for us. So I reached out to him and asked if there was anything, and I told him I'm just speaking on my behalf. Is there anything that Pioneer Valley Planning Commission could offer the town of Granby as a mentor? If whoever we were to decide for the TA coming in. And he said it's definitely something that he can discuss with the executive director, Kimberly. So, with the board's approval, I would like to, if you guys are okay with it, talk to him more about what that would entail. So with Mr. Durham, he had said that he would need it to give his position. If he's still willing to take it, he would need to give his job a 2-week notice. And then he'd be able to start after that. But with not having the municipal background, I think that it's really important that we get a mentor in here that was a TA, and Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is willing to help us out with that, should the board choose to go that route. So Kathy and I kind of did some brainstorming today. Our meeting is February 10th. So if the board is okay with it, Mr. Weiss is going to talk to his director and come up with some kind of plan. We would look at the mentor starting on, or interim, right, in the time being, starting on February 11th through the 14th. So it'd be 4 days because we would have to approve that on the 10th at our regular meeting. And then have them work full-time for 2 weeks with Kathy, because Kathy's going on vacation the 24th through the 28th. So we need someone here to hold down the fort and run the town. So they would work here for 2 weeks. And really that first 4 days, Kathy and I were discussing, is like trying to figure out what the town needs and what they're going to be doing. And so they would work side by side with Kathy for basically 2 weeks and 4 days. And then in the meantime, when Mr. Durham comes on, they would work 2 weeks with him and then go to an every other day, like 3 times a week, possibly. I wanted to run that by the board and see what the board thought, and then we could reassess. And should Michael take the position, he can let us know what his needs are further down. Like if he's feeling comfortable in the position, he doesn't need the mentor as much, then maybe we cut it down to a day or 2 or something like that. So I wanted to see what the board's thoughts were, as I try and navigate what is best for the town and what we can do to support Mr. Durham as well.
I would agree with that, because having met with Eric and Chris some time ago now, he did have a lot to offer in the way of the mentorship and information to pass on and to see things through with a new position being filled. So I would be comfortable doing that.
And when I spoke to Glenn, actually you go first and then I'll hold
No,
on to
I
Eric.
mean, it makes sense, to bring someone in as, an interim, actually, an interim, town administrator to, and if Michael decides to take the position, and also being helpful as a mentor as well. Someone has sure knowledge of, years of experience as well. So I definitely think that's beneficial. But I'd also look at the time frame too, because there's gonna be a cost saving of this. And that right now is not in our budget. So we need to look at what the cost would be for that and figure out a way to pay for that too. There is some portion there with Chris not being here right now, so that was, the town administrative position was funded for this fiscal year. For fiscal year. So Chris not being there, there is some money there, but that's also something we need to look at as far as with another contract too, with the new town administrator as well, because that could be offset. We gotta make sure that the money's there for it.
Makes sense.
So Mr. Weiss will come to our meeting on February 10th, if the board is okay with that, discuss further what him and the director came up with. And then we can decide from there
I'm okay with
how
that.
to move forward.
Sure, I think that's good.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so that was all that was on the agenda today. We will go into executive session 30A-21-A-3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. And we will only come out of executive session to close the regular session. Roll call vote, Dufresne, aye.
Bonte, aye?
Sexton, aye.
Thank you.